Welcome to the CWC Podcast with your host, David Selby, Justin Reed, and Andy Horton.
All right, welcome to the CWC Podcast. I'm David Selby. I am your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justin Reed. How are you today, Justin?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I think it's worth sharing that we don't have Andy Horton here today. He's our other co-host, and he's our tech guy. He's absent today because he is off making the big bucks, doing some kind of photo video job. He sent us a video in our chat thread, and he is shooting some barrel racing and stuff like that, and he said he was on like hour 13 last night. So he said what did he say, his brain was like dried biscuits?
Yeah, he said a busted can of biscuits.
Busted can of biscuits. So there's the visual for Andy Horton's brain last night. And yeah, this is a show that kind of came up quick that we didn't necessarily expect to have in this format, at least. And we're really excited about this one. Just to kind of go back into it here, what the Chuckwagon Channel podcast is. We call it the CWC Podcast. We are your official go-to for Chuckwagon racing news, rumors, interviews, and stories. And today we are doing the unveiling of the heats and the teams and the lineups for the 2024 National Championship Chuckwagon Races. And this is something that we have never done before. It's always been let's put those things straight out there on Facebook for Dapple and the Oafs. They would just post it on the National Championship Chuckwagon Race Facebook page. And that's how people would consume that. They would go straight to the Facebook page, and that would get passed around really quick. But that's an exciting moment, and we wanted to kind of amplify that by putting that out here on the podcast for people to take in and enjoy and share the reactions with us. So we've been sent all of the lineups and everything, and we've put it into our show notes. But we haven't even really gone through this too much yet, right, Justin? This is going to be pretty fresh as we go through these.
Oh yeah, it's completely fresh. I mean, first time looking at it is today, so it'll be a sight to see.
Yeah, this will be a first time thing. So bear with us as we kind of work our way through. It could be a long show. We actually, we haven't even read through all this stuff yet. So we expect it'll take a little bit of time. We're going to move through it quickly, but we're going to give some of our own thoughts as we go. And we hope that this is a fun thing that we do again in the future. Also, first time ever, another first today, our show is being sponsored. So thank you to Bent Shank Horseshoeing. There, I said it right. Jordan Lee and Chris Moss reached out and asked what it would look like if they could sponsor something with the Chuckwagon channel, and we landed on the podcast, which makes total sense because they are going to be offering their services at Clinton at the National Championships coming up here, and we're going to give you some more information on that here in just a little bit. But make sure that you reach out to them and schedule an appointment. And if you mention the Chuckwagon channel, you will get $10 off your service. So definitely tap into that. Okay, like I said, we're recording on a Saturday, August 17th, and we're just we're excited about this. Like I said in our teaser video yesterday, we're race fans just like anybody else, and we know everybody's been patiently awaiting to get the news on where they're going to land. So this episode will come out on Sunday evening, and then that will be only on the Chuckwagon channel. But just like always, this will be released later. The paper copies of this will digitally probably be shared still on Facebook this week too. But we wanted to give everybody a chance to just enjoy this on a Sunday night. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like if you ever watch the NCAA tournament. If you're a basketball fan, I've always grown up as a basketball fan, and they have what they call Selection Sunday, and so all of the teams, all of these college teams are waiting to see where they're going to be placed in the 64 team bracket. And that's kind of what this is to me too. And it's just like, it's almost like a little bit of a holiday, like this is the first time that we're doing this, but I could see this becoming something that we can always look forward to every year, a week or a week and a half out going into the races. And we just get the chance to like, just break it down. So hopefully we kind of shake out a good format for this as we go forward into the future. Before we get into all that, though, I wanted to ask everybody, take a moment and subscribe and relive the ride at chuckwagonchannel.com. If you're here on the Chuckwagon channel watching this, obviously you're subscribed, but go over to our YouTube page and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell that alerts you whenever we have a new episode drop. And please just be a part of this in every way you can and push it to somebody else. If you know somebody that's into Chuckwagon racing and maybe this would be a good show for them, if you do want to subscribe on the Chuckwagon channel on our website, it's $11 a month. It's $99 a year, which is a 25% savings off the $11 a month. And I can tell you, we're going to have a lot of content coming up. If it's not the podcast, we're going to be going to 13, 14, 15 races throughout the year in 2025. And there's a lot of content yet to come out from all the races we've been to this year. So, we wanted to make that, we wanted to make it something that's affordable, that's good for everybody to come and be a part of this. And there's a community feature when you download the app and you plug in your email address and everything. You're going to have all the access to everything on the mobile app. And that community feature is cool too. And I'd love to see people start putting in posts, put in a photo from a race or a video from a race, or comment on something that we put in there, or ask a question. We want the community, the Chuckwagon racing community, to have a place to kind of congregate in that mobile app and let that be kind of our thing. So that was a lot. So Justin, how are you doing today? What's going on in your life?
I'm doing really well. Not much. I'm actually, as soon as I get done with this, I'll be heading over to Clinton for cleanup just for a little bit to help my brother, Alex Slaughter, who races at Clinton every year in the buckboard division. So I'm going to be helping him a little bit, get his spots cleaned up, and then I'll be heading back to edit this thing.
Yeah. So today's episode, different format. It's kind of off the cuff here. How do you feel about it? What are you looking forward to the most?
Well, so I'll just tell you, I am very excited. I mean, the fact that we get to have this amazing opportunity to bring out this lineup and see where people are placed and which heats and things like that, that's very exciting, and it's a great opportunity for us to grow. And I am really excited to see what's going to happen in the Buckboarding Classic division. I'm excited to see. That's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about the buckboards. We've been talking about a little bit of the classics, and the fact that the Chuckwagon channel is going to focus on the buckboard this next season. So that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, man, I'm in the same boat. I mean, just I've glanced over the buckboard stuff because obviously I'm excited to know, but I'm also like, I'm so bought into the classic now after doing that whole season last year of the Great Wagon Race, doing the classic focus. You kind of hone in on these teams that you watch, and I developed relationships by being around them more often as well. But the familiarity just makes watching the races so much more exciting, and I think that with any sport, finding that, it's almost like creating some celebrity or that familiarity for the teams that you watch or the teams that you regularly watch, and then understanding even what that does for a division. Now I have this deep understanding of the classic that maybe I didn't even have in 15 years of shooting Chuckwagon racing. And so now when I watch the classic, I look at it through a different lens because I understand it better. So I want to do that for every division, obviously, but we can only bite off so much, and with each season. So the buckboard's going to be a fun one, and I guess what I'm getting at is I'm really excited about the classic because there's some interesting stuff that's been happening there that we'll share on today's episode, and yeah, I think we got two really exciting divisions there, but there's some exciting stuff too. There's some news to share on a couple of these other divisions as well, and I think people are going to appreciate getting that information. So yeah, before we get into that, last couple things here, just wanted to share. When we go down to Clinton this year, the National Championship Chuckwagon Races, the Chuckwagon channel is going to have a booth at the saloon next to the general store on top of the hill. So when you go to the general store and you pre-order your Chuckwagon DVD, which we produce as well, we would love to speak with you afterward, share some of the merch we're bringing. I've got a couple things sitting here. We've got these koozies, we've got some hats, we got some shirts that have yet to arrive. We're going to be handing out some coasters and stuff like that, just stuff that you can take home, and hopefully it looks cool and that you enjoy it, that you can use it. And so we'll be sharing the merch, t-shirts. Those will be for sale. If you have a subscription with us, with the Chuckwagon channel, you'll get a discount on the shirt. And then also, if you sign up with us at the booth and you subscribe at the booth, then you will get a free t-shirt. So we've got some cool things that we're doing there to try to hopefully give people a reason to come over there. And some other cool news there at the saloon. It's a fairly big stage. It's where they do the awards every year. We're going to be using about half of that for our booth. And then the other half of that, we're going to be setting up to do not only the podcast a couple of times for people to view in person, but we're going to actually add a little bit more, which is not totally all set in stone yet. We're going to try to do some pre-shows. So live pre-shows before the races start. So called a pre-race show. And so that's just opening, it's opening some doors for the podcast and really not even just the podcast, but the channel. I could see that evolving into something that we haven't previously totally figured out yet, but we're really excited to do some of these pre and post race type shows where we can bring people on and make it more interactive. And, just like I was talking about, trying to kind of grow the sport, make things more familiar, make people more aware of the divisions and what's going on, but also some of these teams or these people that are down there working on the track, even an announcer, have them come over and speak with us and just continue to shed light on what's going on and keep people more engaged. I'm just excited for that. I'm excited to get more into the meat of what's happening with the Chuckwagon races. So be on the lookout for what's going on there. Follow our Facebook pages. Make sure you're checking out what's going on the National Championship Chuckwagon Race Facebook page, because they do a lot of posting there to keep people up to date. And then we also, if you are a member of the Chuckwagon channel, we also have the ability to send out push notifications. So if there's anything that we're trying to get quick information out to you, then we have the ability to do that while we're at the races too. So download the app. Make sure you have the app downloaded. Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's announce the teams. I'm sure everybody's just like, hey, well, you guys shut up and announce who the teams are. So let's get right into it. So we're going to start with the rookie runoff this year at the National Championship Chuckwagon Races. It kicks off on Thursday. That's the first race day, even though it's not the championships. It's the opportunity for rookies in all these different wagon race divisions to earn their way into the national championships. And once you're in there, there's some different rules and stuff, and we'll shed light on that in the future. But what you really need to know is if you can win on rookie race Thursday, you will go into the national championships, and I believe you'll be grandfathered in as long as you continue to come back and race. So that's been my understanding. And those things have changed a little bit over time. But getting into it here, we're going to start with the rookie runoff, and it's going to be 2 teams per heat. Oklahoma Land Rush, race 1. Half Moon Hillbillies facing off against Bar 20. Race 2, Beyond Blonde facing off against Freight Train. Race 3, Rafter 87 Stampede facing off against Not Quite Right. The other thing I should note is on the rookie race day, everybody listening probably knows this already, but I'm going to say it anyway. They race 2 times. They're going to race once at 1 o'clock. They're going to run them all through, and then they're going to do a pasture roping, which is the preliminary for the Saturday final. And they're going to run through all the roping, and then they're going to come back and they're going to race all these one more time. 4-Up Mules, race 1, Pitch and a Fit, facing off against Hickory Plains Outlaws. Race 2, Buckeye Bandits, facing off against BS Racing. It's also worth sharing, the 4-Up Mule division, Dapple shared with me that in the 4-Up Mules, all 4 of these 4-Up teams will be ex officioed right into the national championships. So they will be in there. They will be racing Friday through Sunday if they can get through Thursday. But they're gonna actually get a chance to run a couple of times before the race weekend, the championships even start. So that could be an advantage, something to keep an eye out for. Buckboard, Bar G facing off against Shooting Blanks. Race 2, 3 teams here because they had 5 enter. Southern Speed facing off against Crossroads Express and Hickory Plains Outlaws. Big Mules. There are 8 teams in the Big Mules. So you're going to have 4 races here, 4 heats. Rockin' W facing off against Bostic Farms. Race 2, Clark's Farm Service face off against Bar D Chicken Ranch. Race 3, Total Chaos faces off against RJ Cattle Company. Race 4, Seriously Stupid faces off against Foolish Pleasure. And that is going to round out the rookies. Only thing that sticks out to me there that I can really make a big comment on is that I'm really looking forward to what's going to be happening in the 4-up mules, because I think that one of these teams is going to be looking pretty good when they get into championship weekend. Anything else stick out to you there, Justin?
Well, the only thing I'll say is those that don't participate in the association, you probably don't know a lot of these different teams. But when it comes to the association, you've got a few teams out on the rookie runoff that are from the association. You know, you've got Rafter 87, Pete, you've got Not Quite Right, you've got Hickory Plains Outlaws, Shooting Blanks, Southern Speed, Crossroads Express, Bostic Farms, Rockin' W's been in the association before. Seriously Stupid, just to name a few. So if you want to see more of these before you get to Clinton, maybe next year, to kind of scope out the competition, that's where you'll see them at any association race.
Absolutely. So there you go. You've got quite a few teams here that are going to be running in race day 1 or rookie race day and the rookie runoff. So that'll be exciting to see. I think my biggest take on that is I know that we're going to have some competitive teams coming out of the rookies this year. And if you are the kind of person that's running your own Calcutta or going to the Calcutta on Friday night, keep an eye on those rookie teams, because they are going to be players this year. And I see names in there, just like Justin and I go to these association races. I see names in there that I know are competitive in the association races, and they run fast. And that can translate to some competition when we get into the national championships. So be there on Thursday. Make sure you don't miss it. And Thursday night, if that's not enough entertainment for you, make sure that you're checking out the Chase Outlaw 2nd annual Chuck and Buck, which will be going on, I think, at 6 p.m. Don't quote me on that, but it'll be that evening, and it's going to be a sight to see. All right, we're going to move right into the Land Rush. Take it away, Justin.
All right, so we've got the Oklahoma Land Rush here. Heat 1 is going to be White River Cattle Company, the Outlaws, Mule Sugar Bottoms, Tennessee Whiskey. First heat of Land Rush is going to have kids 8 years old or younger racing in them. That is just a cautionary. 8 years or older, younger is going to be racing in that Heat 1. So we're going to move over to Heat 2, G&G Farms, Outlaw Gang, and Double J. Is there only 3 teams in that heat?
Yep, just going to have 3, looks like, on a couple of these.
All right. So we'll move over to Heat 3. 3 Old Men, Poor Folks Farm, and Cedar Creek Farms. Heat 4, Hooves and Hussies, Running at Random, Mule Skinner Bottoms. Heat 5, Boomerang, Rockin' C3, Beautiful Disaster, Hogeye number 5. Heat 6, Bar 6, Running with No Fear, and then 2 rookies will be in that heat. 2 rookies. Heat 7, Full Throttle, Out of Nowhere, Hee Haw Express, Stray One Ranch. Heat 8, Dirty Deeds, Derek Hands, Nice Rack Landing.
What do you think they're getting at there? Nice Rack.
Nice Rack Landing Cattle.
I'm sure it's just like the equipment, like the racks that they use.
Right.
Makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And then we've got Okie Mudslingers. Heat 9, Fast Cattle Company, Hartwick Horseshoeing, Hell's Bells, Little Red Wagon. Heat 10, Campbell Gang, Little Bit of B&B Farms, Johnston Outlaws, Hot Mess Express. Heat 11, Look Away, Slipping and Sliding by You, Say When, and Twisted Spoke. That is going to be your Oklahoma Land Rush division.
Yeah, and I know that there's an asterisk on Say When, and there's a double asterisk on Twisted Spoke. I'm gonna guess that denotes having won it in the past. I know Say When won it last year.
Okay.
So in that 11th heat, I know you're going to be looking at some quick teams there.
Absolutely.
And then I know for sure that even looking at the last 3 heats there, I'm seeing teams that I've seen run pretty fast. You know, Hell's Bells, they get out and go. And I've seen Campbell Gang. I've seen the Johnston Outlaws. You know, they're going to be competitive. So there's going to be some fast teams in there. And I know excuse me, I know we mentioned in the first heat, like any of these divisions, you're going to have these first heats that stack up, and they're not maybe running as quickly as you're going to see in these later heats. But there's something special about every heat. If it's not, heat one where you've got 8-year-old and younger on each of those race teams, that's fun because you're seeing the next generation that's getting in there and they're racing. And some of these kids have been racing for a long time, but it's just fun to watch them and see the future of chuckwagon racing. And then, you get into these middle heats where maybe they're not expecting to win a national championship, but the work and the homework has been done to make sure that you're pairing up race teams that should be competitive, should be running a good race within a race. And at the national championships, that's how it's always been. It's always been that there is something to look forward to in every single one of these heats. So don't turn your head away just because you're not watching the 10th through 11th heat. There's going to be something good happening in every heat. Okay, moving into the 4-up mules. There should be a little bit of excitement here this year. Getting into heat 1 here, you're going to have Trump Train facing off against Broke Ass Farms and Triangle S. Heat 2, Bob's Babies, BS Racing, and Hog-Eye 90 Proof. Heat 3, the Buckeye Bandits, Sue's Pawn Express, High Low, Hard and Fast. Heat 4, Fear the Ears, Injury List, Pitch and a Fit. Heat 5, and this is the final heat, Mount Vernon Mulemen, TNT, and the Hickory Plains Outlaws. So notice all these heats, they are running with 3 teams. The reason being, 4-up mules, if you've never seen it before, is 4 mules racing across. It is not your standard chuckwagon race. You got 4 mules that are just, they could go in any direction. They might just sit there and not go anywhere at all. It's an exciting one to see. You got a lot of mule power there, pulling a small wagon. And I was kind of telling you earlier, these rookies, they are to not be taken lightly. One of the teams that you're not seeing in here is the National Championship from the last, what did Brad say? Was it 3 years? Brad House was racing.
Yep.
Was racing with Shannon Mayo, and he let us know on the last episode of the podcast that they are not going to be competing this year. However, news has reached our ears that their mule team, their 4-up team, has been sold. And if I understand correctly, Hickory Plains Outlaws, is that right? They bought the We Gotta Be Nuts team, and they're in the 5th heat. So you have the championship, the national championship team from last year coming back under a different banner. Yeah, so they are still having to run the rookie races. So they're going to get out and run in the rookie races, and then they're going to come in and, they're being placed appropriately as a national championship team that should be able to get it done in Heat 5. So that's something to look forward to, something to keep your eyes on. For those of you that are taking notes, if you're going to be a part of the Calcutta, make sure that you make a little asterisk there, because they could be very, very fast. They've done it. They've been there, and they've run that track. So don't be afraid to take a chance on them. All right, moving along here, right into the buckboard. Here it is, Justin. Here's the one we were all been waiting for. We've been looking forward to. I know we got some people sitting on the edge of their seats waiting to hear what the lineups are going to be here. So take it away.
Absolutely. So we've got the buckboard division. Heat 1, not quite right. Bumblebees and Time Machine. Heat 2, the Good, Bad, and Ugly M-Bar Cattle Company. D&D Farms and Not Quite Right 2. Heat 3, Lazy A Bar, Bar BS, Rockin' H, and Louisiana Hot Sauce. Heat 4, American Flyers, The Goat, Diamond S Express, that's my brother. He's the one that got me in all this now. All right, Diamond S Express and Diggin' Dirt. Heat 5, Rockin' Rhino, Rafter H, and then 10 Acre Ranch and Rarin' to Go. Heat 6, Stray One Ranch, 2 Spurs and a Squirrel. Then in Heat 6, you've got the 2 rookies adding into that. Heat 7 is going to be a little bit sideways. J-Tucky Ramblers, the Younger Gang, Keystone Express. Heat 8, B&B Farms, Fast Cattle Company, Team USA, and get her done. Heat 9, Natural Forces, Eric Hands, Dizzy Foosh, T&D Farms. And then Heat 10 is going to be Triple J, Bad Company, a little bit of B&B Farms, Got Jesus. Heat 11 is Bar H Ranch and Rodeo, Full Throttle Loca, Half Breed, and Full House. Now, one thing I can say about this is first off, the last 4 heats of buckboard are going to be really strong. Okay. And for one thing, I will tell you what we've been looking at in the past few episodes and the past few races at the association is that Full Throttle and the Full Throttle Loca and Full House and them going back and forth at who's sitting on top. So really, that's going to be where it's at this year. That's going to be the thing to watch. And not to mention, you're adding Half Breed in there and Bar H Ranch and Rodeo. Half Breed, amazing team, amazing driver. You just at that Heat 11, it is like a whole different breed of buckboard. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Man, and you look at these last these last 4 heats, and you see some names pop up in there that we see racing throughout the year, that we've seen racing in the past, that are fast, that are competitive. You talk about the owners of some of these teams, like, you see in Heat 8 B&B Farms, Bryan, Indiana, and so you're like, okay, well, who's driving that wagon? Because we see B&B Farms, going to these races, and they're very competitive. But we also know that the team that Nova is typically in is a little bit of B&B Farms, and that's Heat 10, the second to last heat. And we know Gerald will be driving for Nova. Nova had her accident, and she's she's recovering right now, and she won't be able to race this year. But Gerald is going to step in and drive that wagon. I think that you can expect them to be right there. I do think when I look at race 11, I see these teams that are very much highlighted that we've been watching throughout the year. And I mean, when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, we have seen Full Throttle Loca, Jana Priscilla driving them to victory at the last 2 association races that we attended. And then you've got Full House, Brad House, driving a team that's won it the last 2 years, 3 of the last 4 at the national championships. And, like he said in the last episode, he's been recovering his ponies. They've seen the chiropractor, which is a real thing. Yes, horses go to the chiropractor as well. And he says, he feels like he's got his shot. He's going to go give it everything he's got. And then we've seen Half Breed too. And they've been competitive this year. So, oh man, this is going to make for a heck of a story. It's going to make for a lot of interviews when we're down there this week, because it could be a flip of a coin. I mean, or a lot of coins to see who's going to win this thing.
Yeah, I'll also say this, when going back and looking at the points for the association, especially in buckboard, what you're going to see is you're going to see the top 3 teams on the points wise for the association. You've got Full Throttle sitting at first place with 101 points. You got Brad House, Full House sitting second place, 92 points. So I mean, and then you've got right behind it is Half Breed. So those top 3 teams in the association are in that final heat.
Yeah, and we had a great interview with Brent Henderson, Bar H Ranch and Rodeo, and he called out Full Throttle Loca, Jana, at that last race. And his interview, he was just like, yep, she whipped me. She's fast, and I've got to get my ponies in line, and we've got some time, and he's going to be competitive. He's won it a couple of times, so man, that's going to be a good one. All right, let's segue right into our sponsor for today's show. As we mentioned, we've got Bent Shank Horseshoeing, who is sponsoring us for the very first time ever. To give some information there, Jordan Lee and Chris Moss, they own that business, and they are also the Rafter 87 Classic race team. So you'll see their wagon flags flying over their camp if you're looking for a place to get some horseshoes put on. They're working on horses and mules. They will be doing cold shoeing and hot shoeing, both available. You can check them out at Facebook. Go to the Bent Shank Horseshoeing Facebook page and follow them. Jordan's cell is there, as you can see on the screen now, but also just call Jordan Lee, 501-672-4226. You can call or you can text him, and he's glad to give pricing and get you on the books for the week down there at Clinton. As some of you may know, there are going to be about 6,000 plus or minus a couple on the ranch. These are services that are needed throughout the week down there, and we know these guys, and we know that they're great people, and they will work with you. So just give them a text and check out the pricing for them and get location from them. But I can tell you, if you are heading away from the bluff, if you're heading west away from the racetrack, you're just going to keep heading west on that road, running along the south side of that field, and you will see them on the left. They are going to be set up all 10 days down there at the races. So, go over there, give them a holler, and make sure that you mention that you heard about them on the Chuckwagon channel, and you're going to get $10 off of whatever services that you need provided.
All right, we got big mules, and that heat one's going to be Cedar Creek Farms. Not quite right. Need More Land and Cattle Company. Heat two, What About Bob? 7H Ranch and Hog Eye Conchos. Conchos? That's right?
Conchos, you got it.
All right. Hog Eye Conchos. Heat three, Kentucky Chaos, the Good Old Boys, and Lucky Strike, High, Low, Hard, and Fast. Heat four, Diamond B, Flirting with Disaster, and Lady Mule Skinner and Company. Will He Make It Ranch. Heat five, Bama Mule Skinners, Dixie Rebels, Bob's Babies, Southern Style Mule Company. Heat six, Off Duty, Diamond S Express. And in Heat six, those two rookie teams are going to be placed right in there. Heat seven, Driving Daddy Nuts, Raging Rednecks, Shut Up Stupid, and Triangle S. Heat eight, Going Nuts, Hog Eye number 2, Hidden Valley, and Bar 4W. Heat 9, Whiskey Throttled, Winslow's White Lightning, Desperados 1, Outlaw Gang. Heat 10, Mama Tried, Gunner Strong, Southern Speed, Wide Open. Heat 11, Hee Haw Express, Dumb and Dumber, Catch 'em If They're Loose, and Desperados 2.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, if you've been to the races, you know that these last couple heats are really going to be stacking up, and we're also going to get to see a throwback to last year's runoff where you saw Hee Haw Express, Dumb and Dumber, and Desperados 2. I mean, if you go back and you watch the docuseries from last year, the Great Wagon Race, there was some chaos, there was some drama all around that last day of racing, because going into the last day of racing, you had Dumb and Dumber who were leading in the big mules, and not only in the big mules, but I believe they were leading in the classic, or Perry Murdoch and Ben Hartwick, who are on both of those Pink Poodle and Dumb and Dumber. And man, that got wild with Hee Haw Express. They looked like they went and got it done, and they won the championship. And then sure enough, they had a starting line infraction where they jumped the line. And so you got that drama where it's like, okay, who won? It was Dumb and Dumber. And then Dapple's like, we got to go to the tape. And we come back around, and sure enough, Desperados 2, they had won that thing, and we have seen them run, and they are fast. And they're not just fast, but they have closing speed. And you saw this last year where that closing speed that they get on that straightaway was winning them. It's what won it for them, really. And you saw them do that on each race day where they just closed hard. So I'll be excited. If I had to make a pick right now, we've seen these teams run. I think, man, I'm gonna make some people mad here. Who you taking?
I think Dumb and Dumber. And the reason why I say that is because they've got something to prove. Last year, they almost had it. So they're going to have, they're going to come in this year with a vengeance. They're going to want that title.
Yeah, we've seen them racing throughout the year. Not at all the races, but Mark Ward, he gets those mules how they need to be to go down there and compete at the highest level. And since you took them, I don't want to copy you. That may or may not have been my fear, is that I would say something other than Dumb and Dumber and make somebody upset. But Dumb and Dumber, Mark Ward went and kudos to you, Mark Ward. You lost about 50 pounds from the looks of it, and that wagon's gonna be just a little bit lighter too. So they're gonna be right there. You talk about closing speed. I'm taking Desperados too. And I think that I've seen them run, and I've seen that they've still got the juice, and that's where I'm putting my money. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Dumb and Dumber gets it done, because they wanted it. They want it, and we've seen them racing. Perry Murdoch says he's not going to be jumping into that classic wagon this year, and so they've been focused. They've been locked in. And they might go and just take it. They might just run away with it for all we know.
Well, this is what I'll say. Desperados, I mean, they came in last year, right? So, again, it starts at the start. If you get a good start, you're liable to win the whole daggum thing. And see, it's just going to be that close call. That's what I think. I think it's going to come down to the very end. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll come down to the very end, and it's going to be an exciting race. I'm excited for it.
Well, and watching the races, capturing the races for the last 15, 16 years, you've seen these teams that are kind of part of the campsites back there at the back of the bottoms, where you've got all these people that congregate and get along, and they all are really competitive. And for a stretch there, What About Bob was always like right there. If he wasn't winning it, he was right at the top. And so maybe somebody that could be like a bit of a sleeper on your radar in one of these early heats that might just come out and do something you don't expect might be in heat 2. You've got What About Bob, and they can be pretty fast. And then you've got some family racing in here too, right?
Oh yeah. So my brother's dad is races for Diamond S Express. Yep. Diamond S Express, that's going to be in heat 6.
Yeah. And so do you think they have a good chance?
Well, I was going to say, when you asked me, I was going to say Diamond S Express because I couldn't go against them. But, there is a good chance. I mean, there's a good chance for any of these teams to come out on top. It doesn't matter what heat they're in, because, yes, the heat tries to equal everybody in the same category, right? But some have bad days and some have good days, and we'll just have to see. Some take that hill, that big hill at the start. Some take that a little better than others, but we'll see.
Yeah, man, the big hill matters. I mean, can your mules pull the hill and win on the hill? That's a huge part of it. And I talk about that closing speed. You got to, you may have, when you are getting your mules sorted out, you might have to be making that decision. When you go to purchase or breed mules, you're thinking you can't be the best at every part of that race. I think that you're going to have teams that are going to be better on the hill. You're going to have teams that are better on the backstretch there, and Desperados too. I mean, they're, like I said, they got the closing speed. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. And if Perry Murdoch and Mark Ward get it done, I bet we're going to see a lot of teams losing a lot of weight going into the 2025 season, because Mark Ward, he went and lost the weight. So we'll see if that's what the trick is.
Yeah.
Don't give those mules so much to pull up that hill,
Absolutely.
All right. So let's move right into the classic here. Okay, race 1, Fush Mountain, Last Dollar, Old Man's Ranch, and 7X. Race 2, also 3 teams, Stone County Tick Pickers, Rockin' and Rollin', and Rafter 87. Shout out to Bent Shank Ranch. Horseshoeing there. Make sure you go over to them, and when they're not racing, make sure you stop by their camp and get some work done. Race number 3, Fast Cattle Company number 2, Fleeing the Scene, Who's Ya Daddy, and Fush Mountain Rough Riders. Race number 4, Too Stupid to Stop, BG Race Crew, Bar 3XL, Spur Creek Cattle Company. Race number 5, Fast Cattle number 1, The Thunder Rolls, Rockin' 3D, and Kinda Stupid. Race 6, American Thunder, Triple B, Rough and Ready, and Rafter HD. Race 7, White River Cattle Company, Ace in the Hole, County Line Bunch number 3, and Nuttin' Fancy Outlaws. I can say Nuttin'. Fancy Outlaws.
That's right.
Race number 8, Bar 4W2, Rafter G, County Line Bunch, and Ridge Runners. And we got our last 2 heats here. Race number 9, HJ Bar, Eric Hands 3, Dizzy D, and Trump Train. Man, Trump Train getting into race 9 there, man. They're coming along. Race 10, J Bar S, Fush Mountain Ranch, B&B Farms, and the Pink Poodle. There's a couple of things to unpack here for sure. First impressions?
Well, I mean, I will say this. The first impression that I get is it's exactly how I would have done it if I was riding up the heats. I mean, you're getting into that race 9, that heat 9, that heat 10. I mean, you're looking at some top of the line teams when it comes to classic division. Eric Hands is always up at the top. I mean, they're great. You look at Dizzy D, they came in close last year. And then Trump Train, what I've been saying this whole time, Trump Train is excelling in their division. I mean, that's a great, if you started for nothing and came to the top, that's a great team to look at. And then Heat 10, you've got B&B Farms, Pink Poodle, Fush Mountain Branch, and J Bar S. That Pink Poodle coming at it again. Now, you said that he wasn't going to be in it this year.
They don't have Perry Murdoch driving. They have Ben Hartwick, who has outran the last couple of years. He's going to be driving, and
which that's his team, right?
Yes,
So
but his whole story was that a couple of years back, before they could win it, he just couldn't get the driver, couldn't get that lined out, couldn't get the outrider lined out. So he's like, okay, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to go do the outriding. So now he's got to put that pressure on another outrider again, which I know who that is. It's going to be Cody Bean, if I remember right. I think that's what I was told. And we've seen him get on and get it done. And I believe he outrides for Bar H Ranch and Rodeo. And so we know they've got a quality outrider there. So just because Ben Hartwick is not your locked and loaded, definitely going to beat the wagon outrider, doesn't mean that they are not going to be contenders, which is so often the reason a team may not win the national championship. But I think that they are going to be serious contenders because they've got a good outrider. And I can tell you Ben Hartwick is a great driver. He's going to get it done. That's going to be a really fun one to watch. And some other very, very important news to consider, B&B Farms will not be Gerald Burkhalter driving that wagon. That's going to be Andrea Fralix. So we're going to have a woman driver in the final heat of the Classic racing with the team that Gerald Burkhalter has won it with.
So she came back and she said that she was going to run Classic this year.
Yes. And so I spoke with her at this very last stop at the Bryant, Indiana races. And that's B&B Farms races. And she said that there's a handful of things going on. She doesn't know if she's going to be racing in the Classic. She thought if she did, it would be with Rolling F. It would be the same thing. She said her wish is that she could race where her husband is the outrider. And there's a lot of factors that have to work there for that to work out, but it just wasn't going to be in the cards this year. But since that race, Gerald decided that he was going to pull out of doing the Classic, let Andrea race with Tyler, and And she's proven that she can race. She's proven that she can even drive that team of horses. She drove that team of horses around the track in Heat 6 last year, and we saw them around that minute mark. And so that is a really, really interesting one to keep your eye on, because that team of horses, we've seen them race this year, and they're going to be fast. We know that Fush Mountain with John Yates is going to be competitive. They always are. They had a day or two there last year that they were right there at the very tippy top. They were in the runoff, but they balked at the line. They had an issue with the line in the runoff. And for those of you that are like, why do you have Dizzy D, a team that was right there last year, showed that they could be in the 10th heat, whatever. It's not about necessarily having the 3 or 4 very fastest teams just stacked based on last year in the 10th heat. There's 7, 8, 9 teams that could win this thing. And you want to see a good race at Clinton. And so when you put Derek Hands, who they were in the 10th heat last year, they ran the fastest time of the weekend probably at one point, but couldn't get an outrider. We've seen them winning races this year. We're going to put them down there with Dizzy D. That's going to be a great race. HJ Bar, great team. Trump Train, they've been on the up and coming, and we've seen the changes that they've made with their horses that were wiping people off the track in the big horse rubber tire in the association, and then they hooked them up to a classic wagon. And it's like, okay, so what's going to happen here? Well, the first race they struggled a little bit. They might have balked at the line a little bit, but then we saw them run, and they wiped people off the track. And so this is who you picking? Who's your team? Who's your 1 and 2? I want to know who your 1 and 2 are.
That's just tough, man. That's tough. I'm going to say that, I've been rooting for Trump Train this whole time. I'm going to put them. And I'm going to put B&B Farms. Because if Andrea, she's going to have something to prove racing for B&B Farms instead of Roland F. I know she's driven the team before. She's well acquainted with the team. She knows what she needs to do. She's going to get out there. And then, not that Pink Poodle is at a disadvantage with Ben Hartwick, but, he hasn't driven the team in the past few years. So, in Clinton. So, yeah, B&B Farms is going to have a little bit of an advantage if you look at it analytically. Those are the two I'm choosing. All right. B&B Farms, Trump Train. Who are your top 2?
So you think B&B Farms will win it? Or do you think Trump Train will win it?
That's like, those are my top 2. So it could be either one. But, I'll always go with the one that is kind of like the, not always on the top.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to go with Trump Train. They're going to win it all.
I will say
you wanted me to put my opinion. There you go. They're winning it all.
Man, it's sports and poetry, right? I'll tell you, I could see in that race 9, race 10, I could see a lot of switching leads throughout the weekend, and let's hope that the weather permits that, because these are going to be some fun teams to watch. And I don't think that race 8 is necessarily out of it either. There are some fast teams there too that we've seen really competitive in the past. But man, I'm always rooting for that poetic story, and obviously we're going to be filming this, but I think it could boil down to a runoff. I think it will. I think there will be a runoff, and it is just going to boil down. It's going to boil down to some outriders. It's going to boil down to some where you at on the barrels. Yep. And what are you drawing on the barrel? And man, I've seen how fast those horses are for B&B Farms, and I know they're really fast, and I'm rooting for Andrea to get it done. But I think that there's a menacing matchup there with Pink Poodle, and I think you put the cowboy Ben Hartwick into the driver's seat, and they get an outrider. Man, this is a tough one. I am going to say I don't. So personal take, and I hope that they prove me wrong. I think that Trump Train is still going to need another year to get over the hump. I think that they've had a couple of great races. They are fast enough. But I think that there's something about getting into Clinton that you just have to get over that hump, and you get that racing experience, and it's like you just kind of earn it with some time and getting that experience. And there's just little things, those kinks that you work at, getting over those things. So I'm not going to put my money on Trump Train, even though there's part of me that's just really rooting for the underdog there and the up and coming guy.
That's right.
I'm going to say I believe any of these teams could do it. The reason I don't think Dizzy D will do it this year, I know John Davidson had something going on where he's been out of commission for most of the year, so I don't know if he's gotten to do everything he would normally do to prepare his horses, even though, man, those horses were fast and they are on the up and coming. Derek Hands, I would say, is my favorite in race 9. And I think Derek Hands could be in that runoff. Fush Mountain always could do it. I don't think that they will, just based on I have not seen John Yates at any races this year. I don't think. Maybe one. Has he been to any races?
I don't think so. No.
And so I think that there's something to be said there. So I'm gonna put my money on where the people have been racing this year. I think Derek Hands, and I think that the Pink Poodle are right up there, and B&B Farms. So those are my top 3, I think, to go into a runoff. And
yeah,
then
but who you think's going to win it all? Who you think's going to?
I think it could boil down to a barrel that day. I think it could boil down to an outrider that day. Although in the runoff, you do not have to run the whole track. And so, man, it's going to really, it really kind of, like a go back to saying Trump Train may not get over the hump because maybe the experience, like just really establishing that experience isn't there. As much as I want to see B&B Farms get it done, I want to see Andrea win it. I'm going to put my money on the Pink Poodle. No, I'm not. Oh, man.
It's a tough decision. It really is. And when you look at it realistically, Derek Hands has been up there for the past few years, never being able to get an outrider that will catch them. If they can get somebody fast enough that will catch them, because let me tell you something. I will say this about Derek Hands. They will not stop and wait. They will not stop and wait for an outrider. Like you'll see some of these other teams where they'll try to, now you're not supposed to, but they'll kind of check up a little bit, to try to let that outrider get past them. But Derek Hands is one of those teams that will not wait on an outrider. It doesn't matter how close it is to the end of the line. They're going to push those horses all the way to the finish line. And, so if they can get somebody fast enough, I think that they could possibly take it all. But you look at the Pink Poodle, listen, Ben Hartwick's great, and, he's an incredible driver. He's an incredible everything. But this is his first year back in the wagon at Clinton in the past couple of years. So you've got that little bit of, I'm not saying that he's, not going to pull it off, but you don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Ben Hartwick I think he's one of those guys that even though you don't see him at a bunch of races throughout the year, he's just quietly like doing all the work. Like he is at home and he is working them late, and he's going to show up and show out. And, I feel like on paper, I almost believe in Derek Hands the most because I do think that they have an outrider if they have Lamont Blankenship, who's been running for them this year in the association and the outlaw races. So to me, Derek Hands really almost for me on paper, it is Derek Hands this year. As far as just trying to if I'm trying to put Vegas odds down, it's all based on numbers and it's all based on the math and everything. To me, they make a lot of sense to win this thing. But I always have that that poetic side, that drama that comes up, and I just can't help but want to see Pink Poodle get it done for a third year, and I can't help but want to see Andrea get it done, in a crazy circumstance that you only see in the storybooks, and so a million things could happen here, and I definitely see where Andrea has got her head in the right place. that she's got the right horses. There is a magical thing that happens when you get to run with the love of your life. She's going to be running with her husband as her outrider, which has been her golden wish. And she's going to have Tyler Frelick's, catching the wagon. And I think that if those things all click into place, and if she gets a good barrel on a good day, maybe I actually believe that the horses, the Reds that she'll be driving, they could win it outright. I believe that they are in that good a shape, and that's the kind of work that Gerald Burkhalter does with his team. So yeah, a million things could happen. On paper, I'm probably calling Derek Hands. On maybe my pick that I would actually make in a I'm gonna just gamble a little bit. I think it'd probably be Pink Poodle.
So the key element to, I know you said Lamont is going to be out riding most likely for Derek Hands. So the key element, I love Lamont, and he is a fantastic outrider. He is one of those outriders that's a true cowboy. He will give up everything to get to the end of the line, to get to the finish line. But one thing we've noticed in the past is that if he has any other outrides, if he has a bunch of different outrides, he isn't going to be there, And the great thing about Clinton is that you don't get that opportunity. You don't have that opportunity to take a bunch of outrides. So I think you may be right. I mean, he's going to be solely focused on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got everything kind of lined up. I mean, they did the work this year. They're fast. They are steady. Yeah, on paper, it seems right to me. So let's hope it comes down to a runoff. Let's hope it comes down to a very, very tough decision for the judges. So that is a wrap on the lineups for this year at National Championship Chuckwagon Races. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to go through this with us. I know it was fun for us, and this is the stuff that we get excited about, getting ready to go down there and shoot, getting ready to take in the week of just everything that is awesome on the Bar OF Ranch. So we're excited for you guys. We are going to be down there. Like I said, we're going to be filming there at the saloon. We'll have our booth set up at the saloon. Come by and see us. Make sure you're paying attention to what's going on social media, what they're putting out there on the National Championships page, but also what we're putting out there. Check your app. Make sure that you see what we're posting about, because we will have some shows that you can come and you can actually see those live, and we'll probably throw some merch out to the crowd. We want to make it fun for everybody. We'll have the speaker set up so you'll be able to hear what we're talking about, and we want to be interactive, and we want to be a good time. So make sure you go and you subscribe on chuckwagonchannel.com. Make sure that you hit that like button or that follow button on social media at the Chuckwagon Channel on all platforms, and we're going to see you down there at Clinton. We'll see you out on the track.
Thanks for listening to the CWC podcast.